In 1939, the great Canadian magician and magic inventor Stuart James published an article in Jinx magazine called Sefalaljia. It's a miniature spirit cabinet routine. A spirit cabinet is a box that contains spirits or ghosts that can do supernatural things. And the idea is that this box was made from the timbers of a haunted house and contains the memories of the spirits that lived in the house. And the skull also comes from the haunted house. I made this box myself. It's not exactly how James describes, but it looks quite similar. But it can also do quite a lot more thanks to technology that James couldn't have used, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. But first of all, I want to show you a couple of things that James describes. The first one is a poltergeist effect. A poltergeist is a spirit that can physically move objects, and in this case this ball is the object that will be moved. It goes at one end of the cabinet and at the other end goes a glass. Close it up and we hope that the spirit can move the ball from one end of the cabinet into the glass. So we wait a moment, have a look. There's actually another lid here, another door that we can open up, and we see that the ball is indeed in the glass. Let me tell you a little bit about the box itself, which I made. It's made from solid American walnut, which did in fact come from the floorboards of a house, although not, as far as I know, haunted. And it's solid construction, fairly heavy, and it has dovetailed, hand-cut dovetailed joints there, which make it very strong and I think also quite attractive, and it does mean it took a long time to make. It can be examined by the spectator all round. They won't see anything. As long as they don't try and take it apart with a screwdriver, it'll pass close inspection, which I think is a big advantage over some other spirit cabinets. The second part of the trick is the one that James was most proud of, because it uses, as he says, a genuinely original principle, sometimes known as the Sefalaljia principle. And it has a string, which is ungimmicked, and a ring, a finger ring, borrowed. In this case, I'm going to use 2 rings. They are ungimmicked. There are various methods for doing this. This one I think is one of the easiest. So the string goes through the box, and the ends, you'll notice, are in sight at all times. Now, if the ends are in sight at all times, clearly they're not being used. It would be impossible for the ring to be threaded onto the string if the ends are visible. Nonetheless, that's what happens. There are the rings threaded onto the string. That can be inspected. It really has happened. It's a very strong, powerful effect. Now, this is what I've done to the Sefalaljia cabinet, which is to add a few things. A bell. This is a bell, and also this, hope you can see that. This is, oddly enough, a man in a coffin. It's made of a kind of lead alloy, and there's also a piece of string which has 2 rings at the end. And the idea is that this is a safety coffin. In the old days, people were worried in the 19th and 18th centuries about being buried alive, and people invented these safety coffins which would allow you to ring for help if you were buried alive, which was not an unreasonable idea, because in those days with cholera outbreaks, people were often buried without proper certification by a doctor because there were just too many people dying. So this is like a kind of model of a safety coffin, and the bell goes on the hook, and then the string goes in the hand of the man. Now, this is just a way of having a spirit bell so that you can get the bell to ring whenever you want. You can ask the spirit questions. The spirit could be of the man who died, and when you want him to answer, he rings the bell like this, and it's entirely under your control when it rings. You don't have anything, there's nothing to be seen. The spectators can watch it close up. I'll ring it again. If you don't want to incorporate that into your routine, but you still want a bell, then there's another way of doing it, which is just to hang a bell on the hook. And this is very simple. You ring the bell when you want at your command. Nothing to be seen. It can be examined close up. There's no wires or strings or anything like that. So that's a very simple but effective spirit bell. I'll just ring it one more time just to show you. The final thing I've added to the Cephalalgia cabinet is spirit writing. Spirit writing is done using a spirit slate. This is the kind of thing that a Victorian schoolchild would have been familiar with, and a chalk which we can write on either side of the slate with the chalk. And we're going to use the slate to get the spirit to communicate with us. If I just rub out that and the other side. So then the slate goes in the cabinet, then the chalk goes on top, and we ask the spirit to write a message to us. And you don't need to stand anywhere near it. It can be done wherever you want. Let's see what the message the Spirit has written for us. I was buried alive.